I was watching the news with my dad last night, and I asked him something that had been bugging me all week. Dad, why does everyone keep talking about the Strait of Hormuz? And my dad looked at me and said, "You know how our neighborhood has only one road in and out? Imagine whoever controls that road can charge every single person who passes through it. Every truck, every car, everyone. That is the Strait of Hormuz, a tiny strip of water, the only exit for oil tankers coming out of the Persian Gulf. Control it, and you control the energy supply of half the world. At its narrowest point, about 33 kilometers wide, you could almost see the other side on a clear day. That is nothing," I said. "Nothing," he said. And yet, more than 20% of all the oil traded in the entire world passes through that gap every single day. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, all their oil squeezes through that one bottleneck. There is no alternative route. So whoever sits there basically holds the world hostage," I said. My dad nodded and then said something that completely surprised me. He said, "People figured this out 500 years ago." 500 years? I said. And he told me about a Portuguese admiral called Afonso de Albuquerque. Portugal in the 1400s was tiny, about 1 million people. No big army, not much money, but the best sailors in the world at the time. "So what did he do?" I asked. And my dad said he realized you do not need to control everything. You only need to control the choke points, the narrow passages every ship must pass through. He called them the keys to world trade. Control the keys, and you control the house. Like a skeleton key, I said. My dad pointed at me. Exactly. So Albuquerque went out and captured 4 of them: the Strait of Hormuz, the entrance to the Red Sea, the Cape of Good Hope, and the Strait of Malacca. 4 tiny points on the map, and with just those 4 points, little Portugal controlled all trade between Asia and Europe. That is actually genius, I said. My dad leaned back. "One of the greatest strategic minds in history," he said. In 1515, he captured a tiny island right in the middle of the strait. On a world map, you can barely see it, a dot. But whoever sits on that dot controls the whole passage. He built a fort, stationed soldiers, and then did what every government eventually does. "Charge taxes," I said. My dad laughed. Every ship carrying spices from India, silk from Persia, porcelain from China had to pay to pass through. Portugal ran its entire empire on that toll. They even invented a subscription. If you were a big merchant, you could pay one fixed annual fee. I told him that sounded like Netflix, and my dad said 500 years before Netflix, yes. Then I asked how long it lasted, and he got a more serious expression. "About 100 years," he said. But then the same thing happened that always happens to empires. The money was great, so they spent more and more. To cover the spending, they raised the tolls. Higher tolls meant fewer ships, and instead of investing back into the fort, the officials started pocketing the money. Corruption. The soldiers got demoralized, the fort decayed, and the Shah of Persia looked at the strait and thought, "That should be mine." So he tried to attack, but he had an army and no navy, no ships. So first he went to Portugal with an offer. "Let us work together against our common enemy, the Ottoman Empire. You keep your fort, I provide the local forces, we split the profits." "That sounds like a good deal," I said, and my dad looked almost frustrated. "It was a fantastic deal," he said. "They had the same enemy, they could have crushed the Ottomans from both sides, but the Portuguese bureaucrats in Lisbon never took it seriously. The proposal got lost in paperwork, no decision was ever made. So the Shah went elsewhere. He went to the English, who were absolutely delighted to help. They lent him ships from the East India Company. And in 1622, the Shah used those ships and his own cannons to bombard the Portuguese fort and take the island. Just like that. 100 years of Portuguese control gone, and it became a national scandal. The poet Quevedo wrote a furious sonnet mocking the Spanish king. He basically wrote, "The English and the Persians have taken Hormuz, and our king has no idea what is happening." The king got destroyed by a poet, I said, 500 years before social media. Then I asked what happened after Portugal. It passed through Persian hands, then the British came back in the 1800s and dominated the whole region for over a century. When the British Empire collapsed after World War II, the Americans stepped in. They stationed warships in the region. They became the new guardians of the strait. So it just keeps changing hands, I said. Same strait, different empires, same logic. In the 1980s, Iran and Iraq went to war, and both sides attacked oil tankers. The whole world held its breath. And now Iran is threatening to close it again. It's the one button they can press that gets everyone's attention immediately. Can they actually do it? Technically, yes. Missiles, mines, fast attack boats, they could spike oil prices overnight. But closing it completely would also destroy their own economy. Their own oil exports go through the same strait. So it's mutually assured destruction, I said. Exactly, my dad said, which is why it has never been fully closed in modern history. Everyone threatens, nobody does it. Then I asked him, do you think Albuquerque could have imagined that 500 years ago people would still be fighting over the same dot on the map? And my dad looked at me and said something I haven't stopped thinking about since. He said, I think he would not be surprised at all. Geography does not change. Mountains stay mountains, straits stay straits, and whoever controls the narrow passages controls the flow of wealth. That was true in 1515, it's true today. Geography always wins, I said, and my dad nodded and said, geography always wins.